So why is pleasure so important?
Oh, pleasure is essential. Pleasure is like a vital sign that we're all missing. Actually, play. Play is one of the vital signs, but play is part of pleasure. Pleasure it's your link to your sexual energy, which is the most transformable energy source that we have, right? The energy of all the different parts of us can only be used for those specific things, but sexual energy, you can transform that and use it to amplify and fuel so many parts of your life. It's also, it's literally life force. Think about it. Like sexual energy creates life, but it also just creates. Like you don't have to use it to birth a human. You can use it to birth a project. You can use it to nourish yourself, right? Like you can bring that pleasure into your body and you can nourish your whole being because again, like it's fuel. It's fuel for your bones, it's fuel for your creativity. It's grounding and it's expansive and it literally teaches us to surrender to life itself because you can't have orgasms without surrendering. Like the deeper you surrender, the more pleasure you experience. And so if you allow yourself to kind of dissolve into the oneness of pleasure and of the world, you are able to kind of just be that fluid. Also, I think the last thing I'd say on that is that it's like a rebellion. It's a rebellion against all the things that we were told we couldn't have and we couldn't be. It's the rebellion against all the people who wanted, especially women, to sit straight and be good little girls and to listen to what they had to say, right? So much of our society is trying to keep us controlled and regimented in their ways. But if you're in your pleasure and you're following your pleasure, there's no way you're going to listen to somebody else's version of what your life should be. So to me, it's also my rebellion.
Okay, so much going on in there, and I know that you are a sexuality coach, and so I could already feel that coming out. You know, you mentioned orgasms and things happening, and we're going to get into the sexuality part. I want to start with a little foreplay, to call it, before we really get to the orgasms. So one thing you mentioned there was play, which I'm a very playful person. I love it. I'm silly. I have a kid and I'm around kids, so it's a very playful environment as well. You kind of mentioned play as an important piece of the puzzle. And is that like, does play an avenue to pleasure, or talk about the importance of play a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard it described as one of like people's vital signs that, when did you last play? When did you last let go of like the way that the world should be and just kind of fool around with it? That's when you discover new things. That's when you're able to expand into new ideas. And so in the context of pleasure, play is that literal playground, right? It's like going into either a sexual experience or even just part of your life and knowing like, oh, I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to do everything right. I can be experimental. I can move and be myself. And so that element of play that so many of us lose as we grow up is just an essential piece to making life more worthwhile, but also sex more fun.
More dynamic, more different, not the same kind of thing every time.
Right? Like when you approach it with a mindset of play, you'll see everything just shifts. All of a sudden, it's not a performance or a like, oh, this is how you have to be. You're in play.
Okay, and so yeah, like I said, I hang out with kids a fair amount, and kids exist in a state of play almost nonstop. Sometimes a little bit too much for the adult world. And then I would say there's some adults that kind of have forgotten about play. There exists in like the serious world of got to work, do the dishes, take care of the house. Like how can people start to like get a little bit more of playfulness in their life if they or they're not used to it?
Hmm. Good question. Play little games, you know? Bring games back into life. Bring games into the dishes. Bring games into making your bed. Bring games into your relationship, like little tiny nonsense games like Oh my gosh, like the game of, okay, we're walking into a gift shop, let's find the worst thing in this gift shop. And like we have to, like it's a competition. Who gets to find the worst thing here? Or like with the dishes, like can you make, I don't know, can you make music with dishes as you're doing it? And like I don't know, it could be literally anything, but it's the little things in life that always make life more enjoyable. And I find myself too when I forget those things or when it slips my mind, I all of a sudden realize like, oh, I'm not playing enough. I'm not just being playful with life itself. I had a teacher that would just say flirt with life itself. Like you
Ooh.
don't have to right and just and flirt with it. Like what would it feel like to walk out of your house and flirt with the world? Right? Like maybe you'd touch a tree in a different kind of way. Maybe you'd roll in the grass. You know, like pleasure isn't just about sex, it's about enjoying everything exactly as it is.
Beautiful. Yeah. And I really like that, like filling kind of the everyday life with playfulness and with pleasure. And you're talking about games. One game that I have been loving lately with kids mostly is the Would You Rather game. And it's like such a fun little bite sized imagination piece. Would you rather have a pet rabbit or a pet llama? For the kids, it's like, and it gets them talking, it gets them imagining things. And I can totally see, how in the adult relationship context, it would kind of be touching on different topics, but still like such a cool little game to explore our imaginations. And so, yeah, pleasure, like before we really get into sexual pleasure, let's try and stay on um, everyday pleasure. So I really liked what you were saying there, of like when you leave the house, kind of flirt with life. And, what are some other like avenues to start building up pleasure in life? And say somebody that doesn't even have a partner, just like in themselves and their connection to the world.
And you don't want this to be about sexual pleasure, right?
Well, let's say in the context of somebody that is single and doesn't
Hmm.
have a partner and they have themselves and their life. And their life, yeah, they want more pleasure.
I mean, my answer is still the same. And I mean, it comes with the territory that I actually am going to suggest something that's in the realm of sexuality, but not maybe in the way you think. So, my number one recommendation is that masturbation is medicine, but it's the way you do it that matters. It's your intention going into it. It's not grabbing a vibrator and some porn. There's nothing wrong with that, and there's a moment for that. But if you actually want to expand your view of the world and really get deeper into pleasure and in your life, I have a bunch of different modalities and tools to use in your own self pleasure practice. But what I would recommend is, yeah, creating a sacred space for your own pleasure practice. And again, engaging in play in that space, right? Like, where do I like being touched and how do I like being touched? And again, this is all by yourself, and I would recommend this even if you're in a relationship. This is an important time of self exploration and also a time of getting deeper into your own body and your own experience of the world, because your inner world is a reflection and mirrors the outer world, right? And so your self pleasure practice is really maintaining that inner world but also increasing the pleasure in your own endemic ways. So like the tools I suggest are, like some simple breath, but like breathing in and out through your mouth to like increase that energy, and then starting to explore movement and sounding and even energetic movement. And so that having that practice, doing that by yourself, and then walking out into the world, oh my God, you just walk out with like the most expanded worldview. All of a sudden, you're walking down the street and you're just so full of your own sexual energy, really, that everything just looks better. Everything is more shiny. Everything is more beautiful. So that's where I'd
Mm-hmm.
start.
Okay, one thing that I love that I heard there is the sounding aspect of like making noises. And I'm a musician. I love to sing, and I love to vibrate my body, and I can really feel it in that context. And then in the sexual context as well, I've noticed the difference between kind of like a silent session and then one where we're making sounds, hopefully we're laughing, and just like using that definitely as a practical way to like amplify pleasure.
Yeah.
Um, Now, masturbation, I'm curious, are you mostly talking from a women's point of view, or like suggesting this to women, or do you think that it works both ways? And I'll add that like with men, there's kind of there can be a problem with pornography. A lot of men get kind of addicted to pornography, and it can have some definitely negative consequences. So like where's the balance in that?
Yeah, I recommend it to absolutely everyone. I don't think like gender does not and sex doesn't change that this is one of the best ways to cultivate your inner sense of aliveness and have it literally spill out of your body. Like you wouldn't know, but like if somebody shows up on a first date and they're so sparkly, you know what? If they followed my advice, they would have done a self pleasure practice before going on that first date. They'd feel so alive and full that they'd show up in this like literally sparkly, like, I am so satisfied with my own experience of life that like you are going to add to it, but you're not going to fill a missing hole in me. You know what I mean?
Mm. And you
But
always show up so sparkly in life. So now I have a bit of more insight into what your morning practice is.
you know, I actually don't do it as much as I should, as much as I preach. But it's because I did so much in my program. So when I was studying to be a sex coach, it's like a year-long intensive program that actually spills over into 2 full years to finish all the practices. And there is over 70 self-pleasure practices that are literally like, that's your homework. And these are like hour long. Like it is hours and hours and hours of like, but it's not just, oh, masturbate. It's like, okay, now we're going to go into the depths of your shadow self while you self pleasure. And you're going to go on this whole journey inside your entire body. Like it's wild what you can do because your sexual energy, like it activates your ability to connect with your unconscious self. So that's part of what I do in my work as well, is that like that is a bridge that gets you into your body so much faster. So it's basically like a highway into the 90% of you that's operating unconsciously all the time. But we were talking about porn and men, so just to head back to that question, yeah, I know that it is a challenge for a lot of people, and what I would suggest there is to not go cold turkey. Because so the neurons that fire together wire together, and you can actually slightly like you can train yourself to get turned on by different things. You can literally train yourself to get turned on by, armpit licking and have armpit orgasms. And you can train yourself to have orgasms while you're giving somebody else pleasure because you've done that enough times and you've created that neural pathway, right? And so if the neural pathway is currently like, okay, dopamine and porn, and this is what fires when we see that, I would say like try a little bit and then step off of it, and try a little bit and then step off of it. Same with vibrators. If you're really like reliant on a vibrator to have an orgasm, have a little bit and then come back, and then have a little bit and then come back. And so you can slowly start to rewire it to say, okay, we can do this without that vice. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I'm hearing that having the ability to self-pleasure and explore your body without pornography is a really good tool for the toolbox. And if people are using pornography a lot, and I've known a number of people to do that, and it can be a real struggle for men, in my experience, to get away from that addiction, is that cultivating that just in yourself and in your own body is a valuable experience. And that if you're just using pornography occasionally, doesn't need to be a big problem. But I will say that it can be a big problem for some people.
Yeah.
And I mean, I go through waves. Sometimes I look at pornography, sometimes I don't. It can depend on what's going on in my life, obviously. And some of the porn out there these days is pretty bizarre. And it's like trying to hit all the taboos that it can. And it, I notice that it makes my brain wire in weird ways. And I'm like, this is not good for me. I should not be doing this on the regular, that's for sure.
I think the important thing to know about porn is that it's an escape. Is that it's a disconnection from your worldly experience. So if you're looking for deep-rooted pleasure that's in the present moment in everyday life, that's not going to come from something that allows you to escape. Right? Like it's the difference between sitting down to meditate when you feel kind of agitated or saying, you know what, I'm just going to put a screen in front of my face and forget the rest of the world. And it's so it's like, as long as you know that, because sometimes you do need the escape. And I don't begrudge anybody the escape from the crazy world that we live in. But if you're looking for, making like partnered sex better, pornography is not going to do that, because it's going to teach your brain to escape and dissociate and look for something that just doesn't exist in real sex. So yeah, just having that context, I think, is really important.
Hmm. Okay, so masturbation is a great way to get into ourselves, explore our body, find our personal pleasure. And then if we're moving towards partnered relationships and sex, like what, are there differences? Where do we move in that direction? If I want more pleasure with my partner, and I've kind of like, it's okay, we're having some sex, but it's like a little bit blah. What can I do?
Mm, okay. And so in this context, you're already in the relationship. Okay.
Yeah.
You're not seeking a relationship because yeah, the advice still stands. If you're looking for a relationship, the number one thing in conscious dating is to like self-pleasure before going on the date. Um, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
it works. It really does. Because you
Well, then
show
you
up.
show up with that afterglow and you're not needy. You're not like hoping to get it. You're already taking care of yourself.
And trust me,
Okay.
you're gonna end up sleeping with a lot, like more intentionally with people, is what I've heard. Um, that like you don't end up, sleeping with someone because you just kind of want that fix, but you've already given yourself your fix, so you don't need to do that. Yeah. So in a partnered situation and things aren't feeling too spicy, um, I mean, I always turn towards Tantra. Um, and that's the lineage that I was taught. But I think some of us can get caught up in a lot of like oh, that sounds really big. But really, Tantra is calling us to be present. And it's calling us to be more surrendered. It's asking us to, look deeply into the other person's eye and to breathe deeper and to connect with our inner selves. So another one of my huge suggestions, if you're looking for a better sex life, is actually meditation. Daily meditation will get you closer to better sex because you're learning to interpret your inner world. So Tantra, it can be like this big kind of scary topic, but really what it's calling us into is deeper presence, deeper surrender, and being with our partner in a whole new way, being with ourselves in a whole new way. And so, yeah, the number one thing I'd recommend for people, like other than a self-pleasure practice, is actually to meditate and to explore the inner world, get more aware of your inner world, because having sex is a physical, body-based experience. It's not a mind-based experience, but so many of us try to do it from a mind place, or we get stuck in our heads. And so if you're looking for better sex with a partner, I would recommend going to simple tantric practices. So eye gazing and sitting together in like the yab yum, which is where you like cross your legs over top of each other, and doing some deep breathing and seeing if you can become more turned on with each other just by breathing and seeing the deeper parts of your partner. To me, that's the most exciting place to go, is like, and like I've heard this before too, that like some of us think that the excitement is in the novelty, but there's actually so much excitement. And the deepest, most exciting sex, at least to me, is the person you've been with for years and years and years because you know them so well. And there's a depth there. And so to me, the depth of sexuality and the reigniting of sexuality is a place of deep knowing and surrendering with your partner. And so, yeah, like picking up an urban Tantra book and just looking at some different practices and picking one and saying, this is what we're going to do tonight. Let's explore this. And again, switching to that mindset of play, of like, how can we play together? And not making it too complicated, taking one thing at a time and saying like, okay, today we're going to try this. Today we're going to try this. And I think the last thing I'd mention is the intention. So one of the most important sexual tools that I know of is setting an intention beforehand. And I know that can sound a little bit dry, but like, what is your intention for today? It's not just, okay, we're going to have sex because we should have sex because we haven't had sex in a week. You know, like having a deeper intention, even if it's just, I want to explore what it feels like if you touch me here, or I want to see what it feels like if I completely surrender and surrender in this way, like so that I can feel everything deeper. Like, are you okay to give and I can receive and that's it? You know, so like setting more expansive intentions in your sexual experiences.
Okay, I like that. Even just like having a little like, let's try this today. What's our intention? And kind of to, yeah, go into the exploratory mode of like, well, we haven't been exploring this area of the body as much. Let's focus on it. And I love the call to Tantra. It's something that I've studied a bunch over the years, and it kind of comes and goes, and I get really deep into it, and I'm eye gazing for an hour, and then I forget about it, and I'm not. And yeah, maybe we can talk about some of the like intro tantric practices. You mentioned eye gazing and breathing, and those I think are the bases. Like breathing, what an amazing thing. And one of my teachers, he liked to say, it stuck with me always. He's like, the human body can survive for 30 days without food if it needs to, and it can survive for 3 days without water if it needs to. But to survive for 3 minutes without breathing. And so breath is really the most important thing that we take into our bodies. And we do it unconsciously a lot of the time. And so bringing our consciousness onto our breath, such a great like foundation layer for anything to go on top of. And we mentioned making sounds before, which is the one half of the breathing side, I would say. You know, we got the inhale, we fill ourselves up, and then every exhale is really an opportunity to make sound. And we're doing it with words here now, but it could also be moans or grunts or cat sounds or laughs or anything.
Yeah, definitely take away the performance aspect of sound and let it be primal. Let it come from that place of like, what does my heart want to do right now? Like asking different parts of your body what they want to sound like, oh, it wants to go, ah, you know, and I've actually made those sounds during sex and it makes you laugh and it makes you connect and like it feels so good because that's what your body wants to do. And on the note of breath too, like I've once heard the beautiful saying that like breath is one of the only things that we can do both consciously and unconsciously. And that's what makes it that bridge between your conscious and your unconscious mind.
Mm-hmm. And synchronizing breathing with a partner is a really beautiful thing that I think we should mention. And there's a couple different ways of doing it. One is like the in-time synchronization, where just like find the breathing of your partner, and then when they are inhaling, inhale. And when they're exhaling, exhale. And it can be super nice in a spoon position, like when you really feel their body. And when we inhale, we grow a little bit as we expand. And when we exhale, we shrink a little bit, I guess. And there's an opportunity in a partnership to, I really enjoy, like in the inhale is like give more space. And then on the exhale to give a little tighter hug to the partner. And then you have that like synchronization of the breathing with some physicality coming in. Super simple thing that you can do. Doesn't need penetration or anything. And really enjoyable, and a way for two people to like come together.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's that synchronized breath. It's that like you would be amazed how beautiful an experience can be that's so simple. Like, yeah, sitting together, entwining your legs, putting your hand on each other's hearts, and breathing in time, maybe even staring into each other's eyes. Like, I know that might sound like some hippie woo woo stuff, but oh my God, does it work? All of a sudden, you're staring into your partner's soul, you're aligning your energies together, and and starting sex from that place creates such a different experience. Or even saying, today, this is what sex looks like. Like, we're taking all of that off the table. We're taking, like, just anything else off the table. Let's just do this, and then leave that amount of, oh my God, I want more spiciness on the table.
Oh my God, I want more spiciness. So synchronous breathing, when you're breathing in the same time, and then that goes to asynchronous breathing, where when one person is inhaling, the other person is exhaling, and then the reverse. And it becomes this circuit where the energy gets passed back and forth. When I exhale, I'm kind of blowing energy to my partner. And then when I'm inhaling, I'm breathing it in and taking it in. And one pretty simple practice that I like to do is to imagine that there's this love energy. And when I'm inhaling, I'm like bringing love energy in from the universe into me. And then when I'm exhaling, I'm pushing it into you. And if you're doing the same thing, it's like we're both calling in more energy from the universe and then cycling it back and forth between you and your partner. And I've had crazy experiences, like of being high, approaching orgasm just from breathing.
Yeah. And that's why it's the number one sexual tool. It's just breath. Like, if ever you're like, oh, why is this not working? It's like, wait, am I breathing? Am I relaxed? Am I letting the noises out that need to come out? Oh, okay. And then all of a sudden it just whoosh. And that practice, I love that practice. I would also like add something that, so in several lineages, the male pole of kind of like the out pole is the genitals, and the in pole is the female is the genitals, as you can imagine why. And then the heart for the feminine is the out pole, and for the masculine that's the in pole. And so you can imagine kind of like a circuit. Like, you can also take in the energy from the universe, and I love that. But yeah, it can circulate that way, and kind of like imagining that the energy is circulating like out, if this is a heterosexual moment, out of the female's heart into the male's heart, out of the male cock and into the female vulva. And that kind of just it again, like, it's just like you can notice that there's like an open space there, and there's like a giving and a receiving energy, and that can also prep you for a deeper sexual experience.
Yeah, I think in general we could say that men have a easier time feeling the energy in their genitals, and perhaps women have an easier time feeling it in their heart. And so that kind of helps the two people combine that, where the man gets to practice feeling it in the heart and welcoming that energy in the heart. And then there's that natural and flow of like down. And then the woman gets to practice receiving that energy in the genitals and then bring it up to the heart. Yeah, beautiful cycle. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah. Actually, this really brings up like this. Oh, this, when I learned this, it revolutionized the way I thought about turn on. So there's this book called The Women's Anatomy of Arousal that I highly recommend people read, because even just for men, just read the very last chapter. It's written just for heterosexual men who want to please women.
Just skip to the end, men.
Yeah. Read the whole thing, and it teaches you about your own anatomy and what's going on there. And there's this beautiful way of saying it that, oh my God, once I heard it, it was like this whole thing clicked. where for men, for penis owners, the sexual energy starts at the genitals and it spreads outwards. For women and vulva owners, the sexual energy comes from everywhere else and then it gets to the genitals. Doesn't that make so much sense that for men, you start the turn on in the cock and then it kind of spreads. And for women, it's the complete opposite, where you want to engage all the other senses. You want to engage the skin. You want to slowly move in towards it. And only then is it going to open up. And yeah, just that mind switch of like, okay, if you're with the opposite gender, there's a good chance they want the exact opposite that you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so understanding that your partner is different from you and using that. I'm curious to talk a little bit about orgasms. You mentioned it before, and in the tantric practice, there's a thing on the male side of stepping away from ejaculation, especially, and orgasm as well, to just be able to like experience the pleasure of the moment and not need to have that end goal of an ejaculation orgasm. And in Tantra, there's a separation between ejaculation and orgasm. So for men, which is what I'm familiar with, there's the ability to find an orgasm that doesn't require an ejaculation. And it's really the ejaculation that tires guys out. There's the classic stereotype of a guy has a orgasm ejaculation and then he just rolls over and goes to sleep. And there is a truth that ejaculation it's a lot of life force being sent out into the world. It's that creation force that's in the ejaculation, the semen. And so being able to separate that and experience a lot of pleasure and experience some body orgasms without needing to ejaculate is one of the practices that Tantra leads men towards. I'm not as familiar with like the women's side, so I know you've talked about orgasm. Your website talks about multi-orgasm in a bunch of places. So how does that apply, like on the women's side, the relationship between pleasure and orgasm?
Yeah, so the most, and yes, you're absolutely right. There is a huge difference, and that is like a beautiful thing to work towards, is a non-ejaculatory orgasm for a man. Because yeah, you're right. Like all of a sudden you can become multi-orgasmic as a man instead of, yeah, ejaculating and rolling over. With women, it's the same sort of thing, except we don't have to hold back. We can have multi-orgasms. Like when you look at like books like Sex at Dawn, it really does describe this in such a way that makes sense, that like women's sexuality was designed in such a way where it's like, okay, well, we're in heat. Let's take multiple different semens inside of us. And this is like way back in prehistoric times, like multiple semens inside of us. And then like our body gets to choose which one is the fittest. And that's, like kind of the survival of the fittest. And so it makes a lot of sense that we can just orgasm and orgasm and orgasm and receive more pleasure and more pleasure and more pleasure. And that with men, it's like you're one and done. But so we don't have to separate them. We can build up that sexual energy within us and reach new levels, reach orgasmic plateaus, reach full body orgasms. We still have the ability to orgasm anywhere in our bodies. There's so many different types of orgasms. You can orgasm from your breasts and from your armpits and from your feet, but also from your clitoris and your cervix and your G-spot, right? Like there's just so many different ones. And the most important part is to remove that goal for women, to say there's no goal of orgasm. We're not trying to reach there. We're just letting whatever happens happen, because if you're striving and pushing towards that thing, it's so much harder to get there. So that's a really important part of it. And yeah, allowing whatever comes through to come through, because no two orgasms look the same. They're always different. And expecting and wanting and hoping and praying that it's going to look the same is usually going to end badly.
So I'm hearing removing the goal, like not needing to get anywhere in specific, which is interesting in combination with what you were saying earlier of having an intention beforehand. It's like, so let's have an intention of exploring this realm, this area, but there's no like need to get to any specific place. It's more of like an expedition. What are we going to find there? Let's be curious.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes, because the intention, making the intention, oh, I want to have an orgasm. Like the intention could be like, I want to have a squirting orgasm, sure. But that's usually if you're like really, really experienced in orgasms, yes. But if you're trying to get back to orgasm, if you've been disconnected from your pleasure for a while, like setting intentions that feel more expansive, right? Like letting the universe kind of fill in the gaps. Like, I want to feel all the love I could possibly feel. I want to, just feel deeply connected to my partner. I want to experience pleasure from a new area of my body, right? Versus I want to orgasm. Like, you're asking for this one specific outcome that doesn't leave space for interpretation and for surrender and for other things to come in.
Okay, so surrender is a word that you have been using a bunch throughout our conversation here, and I'm curious, like what is that? What do you mean when you say surrender? Like, what's the importance of surrender?
Surrender is allowing. It's releasing expectations. It's like, I feel like when I picture surrender, I picture a woman like on her back, fully open and allowing it all. There's an acceptance to surrender. There is allowing it to be whatever it is without trying to change it. Right? There's intentions, and intentions are important, but it's also important to, again, allow anything to come through. So to leave like a spaciousness and an expansive intention versus like, it's like the difference between like prescriptive and descriptive. So like, you're not trying to prescribe a certain experience to yourself, but you're trying to describe the general gist of the feelings you want. Like, intentions can be more about the feeling you want to feel and then allowing the universe to decide how that happens. So like, I like to always say, like, I get to choose the what, but the universe gets to choose the how, right? Like, you get to say, this is what I want, but then the universe decides how that comes to you. The same in sex, that surrendering to the experience, surrendering to sex is saying, okay, this is the general gist of what I'd like to experience, but I don't get to decide. And I know I don't get to decide how this happens.
It feels like there needs to be a lot of trust. That's what comes to mind with me. It's like a first step before I could see surrender really happening is a level of trust with your partner that like they're going to take care of me. They understand me. It's going to be okay. It's going to be great. I can trust that.
And this is why it's so beautiful to have like multiple sessions with the same partner and to go deeper and deeper, is because you're absolutely right. Trust is so essential. Like, you, on a practical level, like, you trust that they know your body. You trust that they know where your no zones are and where it feels comfortable for you and where it's uncomfortable. And you trust that they can hold you if something deeper comes through. You trust that if you started to cry, that they're not going to judge you, that you can have that full embodied experience. Because when other emotions come up, like sex isn't just like about the pleasure. There is so many more emotions. There's a full spectrum of human emotions that gets accessed. And so crying during sex or after sex is so much more than just something might have happened, or, you feel a lot of love for somebody. Like, true deep cries can come through and you have no idea why. But being able to allow it and surrender to that emotion, go through it instead of around it, right? Like, not it's suppressing the tears, but saying, okay, I'm going to cry. allowing yourself to cry and then being seen in that, and then having your partner accept and love and encourage you, and then know that, you know, like, this doesn't mean the pleasure's gone. This means that, like, this is just a different route to the pleasure. That is trust, and that is being able to surrender to the experience.
Wow. Incredible. Whew. So Kris, people that want to like learn more about what you're doing or work with you more, what kind of offerings do you have available for the world these days?
Oh, so many. My main bread and butter is to work with people one-on-one on their sex life. And it kind of comes down to that self-pleasure thing where it's like, sure, partnered sex is like the goal, but you need to know what's going on in your own body first. So I do a 12-week coaching program where I work one-on-one with people, and we go into the depths of the unconscious somatic reactions that come through during sex. So my main modality is somatic experiencing. And so we're not going to talk about sex. We're not going to talk about like the 5 tips that Cosmo might give you. And I'm not going to tell you about how to spice up your sex life. I'm going to go deep into how does your body react in the sexual experience that you're looking for, whether that's better orgasms, or if you're looking for more connection, if you're looking for a really deep partnership, if you're looking to feel more confident in bed, right? All these things, like, how is your body stopping you from getting that experience? Because something inside of you, some unconscious network, is usually stepping in to try to protect you from what it's decided is unsafe, usually based on your upbringing, right? If you've been taught that love or sex is unsafe or dirty, or that you can't be respected while having sex, you know, those things are coded deep inside of you. And so we're not going to get to them through the brain. You're not going to get to them through sometimes talk therapy, right? Talk therapy is really essential for some things, but there's a layer deeper that you've got to go to really unearth these things. And the changes people see in just like 6 weeks. Like I have a client that, like, we're only halfway through and their friends are already saying, "Oh my God, who are you? What's happening?" It's incredible. So that's my bread and butter. That's the one-on-one coaching. I call the program Wild, Worthy, and Orgasmic. And yeah, it's 12 weeks minimum to work together, because that's how long it takes to really like get into the depths. Yeah, so that's the main one. And then I do a variety of yeah. And then I do a variety of retreats. I do a couple local to Vancouver, Canada, called Wild Women Rising, which are 3-day retreats that people call, you know, the best weekend of their life, which is awesome. So I'll be running another one in May of 2020.
And is that for couples? Is that for singles?
That's for women only, women and pussy owners. And then I've got a longer version of that in Mexico for a week in 2027. And then this is new and it hasn't even been announced yet. I have a week-long nudity retreat coming up next November 2026. It'll be in Zipolite, Mexico. So it's right on like the nude beach. And the idea is to be immersed in like play and inner child play, and see how that bridges over into sexual play, and be given a space to be nude, get more comfortable with your body, and experience community in that way. So yeah, that's really exciting.
Amazing. Is that women only as well?
That's everybody. Yeah.
Okay.
It's called Play Camp.
Play Camp.
Play Camp, come to you.
So nudity, maybe let's chat a little bit about nudity, since you're bringing that up. It's something you're exploring in this retreat. It's been a journey for me to like become more comfortable with my own skin, and some days are better than others still. There's a nude beach here in Vancouver that at first I was taken there by friends, and I was like, well, this is pretty awkward, and keep my clothes on. And then when I went back, I would slowly get more comfortable. And I'm at the point now where if I'm on a nude beach and I'm with friends, that it's comfortable for me to be naked with strangers being present. I think in our society, there's such a strange relationship with the body and nudity, and it's we're protecting. I think it starts that we're trying to protect kids. And so we, cover up the bodies. And then when we get into adulthood, we kind of carry that with us, that we're supposed to be covered always. And where's the unlearning there? Or what do you have to say about nudity and the value of becoming comfortable with our skin?
Yeah. So the more time you spend naked, the more comfortable you'll be. That's what I've learned. And I was very uncomfortable at nude beaches probably 5 years ago. Even it's been,
You?
yeah, absolutely. I was so uncomfortable. I was like, oh my God, I don't want to be naked. Or like, there's this sense of like, I don't know why, but like the sense that like they need to earn the right to see me naked. There was that kind of feeling of like, if you have established trust with me and you've, shown to me that you're going to respect me, that's when you get to see me naked, right? But like instead it's like, no, 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 wait, this is the mind shift. This is for me. This is not for you. This is because I want to feel liberated and free, and this is my expression of my own body. And like, I guess you're going to look and I can't stop you from looking, but at the same time, that's not my concern. My concern is my own experience, and I'm not going to let your gaze stop me from having my experience.
Yeah, so a big part of like letting go of what other people think of us and just living for ourselves.
Yeah. And so, yeah, going to nude beaches, going to like local Burning Man events where we're both part of that community where like it just becomes more and more normalized. And the more time you spend, even just going to like a sauna that's naked, the more time you spend naked in non-sexual spaces around other people, the more you get to go, oh, we all just have bodies and it's not a big deal. And it doesn't have to be sexual when we are naked. It can be just free and natural. And but it takes time, but honestly there's no better way to do it than just to expose yourself literally and figuratively time and time and time again. And so that's part of what's really magical about this experience play camp is that like I experienced living at this location in this like really beautiful space for a couple weeks, and I noticed how much it even shifted. Even though I was already comfortable with my body, this was like a new level where it's like, oh, I'm just in community and we can be naked in the kitchen and we can just exist in our natural forms however we wish. And there was just no other space that did that, even at my own home. Like I came home and was like, hey, roommate, can we like be naked in the kitchen? Or like, okay, we have a small kitchen, so maybe like genitals brushing might be awkward. So we were like, nah, let's see if we can be, like I asked him if we could be topless and he was like, sure, but like I gotta admit, I'm probably gonna stare at your boobs. I'm like, noted, thank you for being honest. So I chose not to do that, but
Okay, so there's a time and a place for nudity, and there's a time and a place for clothes, which we definitely understand. We're wearing clothes now.
yeah.
I will say that swimming in the ocean with no clothes is way better than wearing a bathing suit. Even a quick dry bathing suit doesn't dry immediately, and then you get out, you got this wet piece of cloth on your body. That I think is one of the things that really got me enjoying the nude beach. Is like I can just swim in my skin, get out and let the sun dry me off, and it's so natural, so freeing, so fun.
I usually find it's also, I mean, the after part is great too, but during, there's so much more pleasure in swimming naked when all your bits are floating and being manipulated by the water. And like, they're moving and grooving with the flow of the ocean.
All right. Well, amazing. This has been Kris Hall, the pleasure engineer, sexual embodiment coach. We'll put your website link in the description there for anybody that wants to investigate you more. Thanks for a titillating conversation.
Thanks, Dustin. This has been great.